We have a big show as we do every Friday. Nick Costo is going to join us in about 45 minutes, give you your picks for the weekend. Costa's been pretty good lately. Elliot will join us from Los Angeles at 3 o'clock. Unfortunately, we'll have a Tornado Shapiro forecast at 3:30 for a game with a dome. I don't know why we need a forecast for a game with a dome, but we will. Jaws at 4, Lincoln Park tickets at 4:30. Tommy down the shore. It's going to be a big show. Wow. How do we fit that all in 4 hours? Seems like a lot. So I was thinking, as I do constantly, and it came up during the conversation with Sheil yesterday, and it was a big conversation for us, I would say, about 3 weeks ago. It was right after Saquon Barkley, I think, had 30 touches in a game. And we'd all agreed in the beginning of the season we'd like to see that number around 20. I think that's the number we wanted to see. Yeah. Maybe even a little lower than that. Whatever.
No, I said 20. 20 touches, yeah.
And here we are. The Eagles have won 6 in a row, but we're on the track for him to have more touches he's ever had in his career. 370 plus. We go to the playoffs. We end up with 400. We all know what that number means for running backs for the next year. It means they're not really productive the next year. But that worry 3 weeks ago seems to have gone away. And I think it's because of the success of the team, and maybe because we don't see a way to win these games if we are not giving Saquon Barkley all those touches. But I think that worry going away is a mistake. And maybe not worry is the word, but I haven't given up hope that we should find a way to get Saquon's touches lower for the rest of the year. And here's why I think it's so important. First of all, this offense, this personnel, is likely going to be almost exactly the same next year. We're going to have the same quarterback. We're going to have the same wide receivers. We'll probably have one of the two same tight ends, same offensive line. So if Saquon Barkley is this important this year, we're also going to need him next year. The other thing I would say is not every running back that we've ever had is Saquon Barkley. In fact, not any running back we've ever had is Saquon Barkley. However, behind our dominant offensive line, we've seen success with a number of different running backs. So they can have success running the ball without Saquon. We have a dominant offensive line. And I'd also say the other thing is the number 1 seed, which we all are thinking about a little bit, I think is a bit of a pipe dream. I would think as well. So
why is it a pipe dream?
Well, because I don't see enough. I see more losses on the rest of the schedule than would make the number 1 seed, at least in my eyes. I guess it's possible.
It's not a pipe dream. They're 1 game behind the other team with 7 games to go.
Right, but they're going to have to finish a game ahead of them.
Well,
right?
We don't know that.
Well, possibly a game ahead of them. My point is this: if they. Everyone says that they can get Saquon less touches by being up a lot at the end of the game and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. I think it's something the team needs to build into the game plan. I've seen enough this year to know that if they look at a set of downs in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, and make sure that Gainwell is in there for Saquon, we can find a way to preserve him a little bit better, still have a really good team, still keep our same goals this year. But the fact that we have all given up hope on having, potentially even having a productive Saquon Barkley next year, for this year, I think is a mistake. I think they can be likely as successful, and they can save him. And I think we've made a mistake in forgetting about that.
Well, I mean, you would have to sell me on how we're going to be as successful without using him less. The team is completely reliant upon him. He's the MVP of the team. And I think you're completely wrong with the whole pipe dream. It may not happen, but it's not a pipe dream. They're 1 game behind Detroit. We'll see how Detroit finishes out the season. They still have some tough games on their schedule. I don't know what the conference record is going to look like, what the tiebreakers are going to be like, but with 7 games to go and only 1 game behind a team, it's not a pipe dream. It's far from being a pipe dream. And quite frankly, if winning the Super Bowl is your goal, then having that number 1 seed and home field advantage is your best chance to achieve that goal. You don't believe the Eagles can go to Detroit and beat Detroit.
Well, I think it's more likely they'd beat them here than beat them in Detroit. Of course, we both agree there.
Yes. But so that's why you want the number 1 seed and you want the home field advantage. So until that's not attainable, Saquon, I got to ride Saquon like Seabiscuit. Sorry. Taking everybody to Pound Town.
I just think it's funny that 2 weeks ago, nobody wanted to go all in at the trade deadline, right? Nobody wanted to take a shot at the trade deadline because we all wanted the future and we all wanted next year. Well, Saquon Barkley is going to be as important to the team next year. And these other teams that are running the ball, as much as they're running the ball, most of them are doing it with more than one back. And I have enough confidence in the offensive line. I have enough confidence in Kenny Gainwell to say that it's really, honestly.
Well, you're the one person in the city who has enough confidence in Kenny Gainwell that you want to give Saquon the ball less. Nobody else has that amount of confidence in Kenny Gainwell.
It's one touch a quarter. It's one touch a quarter.
I don't know how it's
one touch a quarter.
All I'm saying is just hearing the idea of you got enough confidence in Kenny Gainwell to give Saquon Barkley less touches and think we're going to be just as good. That is crazy thinking. And quite frankly, worrying about next year right now isn't something the Eagles should be thinking about. And I know it's nothing the fans, anybody in their logical mind is thinking about.
Absolutely, they should be thinking about it. They're paying Saquon Barkley $12 million next year, whatever it is. It's a cap hit of I think $10 or $9 million next year. You just said he's the MVP of the team. So we're kissing
of the league, basically.
So we're kissing goodbye the possibility of the MVP of the league being nearly as effective next year for this year for essentially a touch a quarter.
No, to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think you can win a Super Bowl. I think you can win a Super Bowl doing that as well. And by the way, you're going to need them as effective in January and potentially February as well. And all of these touches add up to that as well.
Well, I tell you what, the way the Eagles can do that is by going out and blowing teams out. That's the only way. But going into a game?
Well, they haven't proven they can blow teams out.
Well, they've blown some teams out.
Well, early enough in the game, I think. No, most of the blowouts happen basically in the fourth quarter.
And because of who?
Because of Saquon.
Okay.
Well, but what I'm saying is it's not about the end of the game. It's about the game plan for the entire game.
No.
Yes.
No, because this offense has shown us what it is. And I'm listening to Howard last night dribble out his mouth about the Eagles and what they need to do to win games. Dude, this is a running football team.
So run it with a second back.
Football team, and this dude is the engine that starts it all. We aren't good enough. I'm sorry. I wish we were. I wish we were good enough that we got out to big leads by throwing the ball to AJ and Devontae, and Jalen was cooking with grease at the quarterback position, and we didn't have to rely on Saquon as much as we do. I've watched this team just like everybody else has for 10 weeks, 11 weeks. They need Saquon. They need him. He has been the guy. I haven't seen Jalen in the passing game start a game fast and be the driving force of this offense. Not one game. One game this year.
I'm not saying to throw it more.
But what you're saying is go to lesser players.
Right.
So the only way I'm willing to go from Saquon is to go to my other star players, Jalen, AJ, and Devontae, and Dallas Goedert. I'm not going to Kenny Gainwell. I'm not going to Kenny Gainwell to not give Saquon the ball. So if I'm not going to give Saquon the ball, I'm going to give the ball to my other all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber players, not my backup.
Well, and you already agreed we're not going to throw the ball more.
Well, I'm saying if that's what we're going to throw the ball better, then I'll move away from Saquon. But I'm not moving away from Saquon for Kenny Gainwell.
All I'm saying is we've been a successful running team with this offensive line with DeAndre Swift. We've been a successful running team with this offensive line, or an iteration of this offensive line with Miles Sanders. Jalen was playing better.
Yeah, the passing game was a lot better. The passing game was a lot better. That's not the case with these guys. I don't know what to say, but 26 is where it's at.
215-592-90.
26 touches a game.
26 now.
I love when we go numbers.
Yeah, you're going to put the dude into retirement by February.
Let me tell you what.
Yeah.
If it gets us a Super Bowl, I don't care.
And if it doesn't, I want to have a chance to win a Super Bowl next year, too.
Well, guess what? We got Will Shipley, who's going to be introduced to the exciting whites next year. Okay. It's going to be a big part of that crew next year. Yeah.
Real quick, do the Niners regret what they did with Christian McCaffrey last year?
I bet they do.
I don't think they do.
No. What?
I said I agree with you.
Oh, you think they? I thought you said they do.
I don't think they do.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
And look at this year. They've basically kissed away a season.
Yeah, because the receiver was unhappy. He held out all training
And because
camp.
Christian McCaffrey didn't play for the first 7 weeks of the year.
But when Christian McCaffrey wasn't even playing, they still had one of the leading rushers in the league until he got injured. With that guy, my point is that they got to the Super Bowl. There's no way they regret using McCaffrey last year the way that they did. It gave them a chance to win the Super Bowl. It's their fault they didn't capitalize on McCaffrey's great year. It's not because you used Christian McCaffrey, it was a mistake. No, you didn't take advantage of the opportunity when Christian McCaffrey was at his best to actually win. You lost the Super Bowl by deciding to kick a damn field goal. That's Kyle Shanahan's fault.
215-592-9494. Do you think the Eagles can still monitor Saquon's touches, get them down, be successful this year, and then have them for next year? We're all going to be here next year. I assume. 215-592.
Ideally, the shows will be here next year.